What's up, everyone? It's Mark here, and I am the Faceless Reviewer. I just got through watching Swing Kids and felt so strongly about it that I felt like this was a good starting point for my YouTube channel for my reviews. Swing Kids, you can watch it on YouTube for free. You can also watch it on Amazon Prime if you have Amazon Prime. You can watch it on Viki. You can also watch it on Vudu. Um, and I think that's about it. Swing Kids is a 2018 film. It is based around the Korean War. The synopsis reads: soldiers at a POW camp plan a tap show to distract themselves and the prisoners from the hardships of the Korean War. The film was directed by Kang Hyung Chul. It is based on a musical. Um, and it stars EXO's Dio, Park Hyo-soo, Oh Jung-si, Jared Grimes, and many others. I originally didn't plan on Swing Kids being the first film I did a review on. To start things off, I'm going to preface this with um, I am a black trans queer person. Um, And so I felt like my first review should be on something that I more closely identified with, I guess. Um, and I really just sat down to watch Swing Kids because it was a film that I had been saying I was going to watch and just had not got around to watching it yet. And I'm supposed to be writing, but I wanted to distract myself. So I just sat down to watch it and it gave me an emotional, or I haven't felt this emotional about a film in a very long time. Um, I'm sitting here in my room, literally trying my best to hold back tears because that's how good the film was. I don't want to go into too much detail about the I guess the plot of it, for spoilers and in case anyone wants to watch it. But the basic gist is that the commanding officer of the American army that is stationed at this camp in South Korea goes to Jackson and tells him to make a dance team. He tells him this because Jackson used to be a Broadway dancer before he got into the war. And quite honestly, it just seems like the man wants something to amuse him, I think, for like Christmas or something. And so he does that. And then basically what happens is that they end up being so good that he tells them to just keep doing it and he schedules them another show for like New Year's or like the next Christmas or something like that. I could be mixing up my holidays, but the basic gist is that. And during the whole time that they're practicing for all this, the Korean War is going on, and the main characters are just having to deal with that while also practicing for this show. Yeah, and basically having to form, or really not even having to, but deciding to form a friendships camaraderie with people who come from different walks of life from them, who believe all different things from them, well, who believe all different things from, each other, all because they want to tap dance. The film does a really good job of showing, in my opinion, granted, I don't know much about the Korean War. I don't know much about the history of most wars, if we're being completely honest. But it did, in my opinion, a really good job of making you feel, I think, what needed to be felt. I feel like in film, above everything else, the thing that you really that makes films resonate is, do they make you feel something? I think a lot of times writers, not just film writers, but just writers in general, we can get so caught up in wanting to say something that we forget that no matter what we say, if we can't make people feel something, then it doesn't matter what's said. And I think in this particular film, it's really important because partly the film is in English, and then part of the film is in Korean. And the two of the main characters, the main character played by Jared Grimes, and the main character played by Do Kang Soo, much of their interactions are done with a language barrier because Kang Soo is speaking Korean and Jared is speaking English. And for much of it, they don't necessarily understand each other, at least not word for word, but they're able to communicate in a way to where, despite the language barrier, they're able to really get each other. And I just think the film did a very good job of that, of bridging the gap and showing that it's important to make people feel things and that you don't necessarily have to have concrete, um that there doesn't have to be like this 100% understanding of each other in order to make that happen. I think the thing that made me, or that like why the film made me feel so strongly, I guess, is because as a black queer person, you know, I have to live my life with my guard up. I'm not comfortable in a lot of settings because I know that the people around me are uncomfortable with me for whatever reason. Um and so I didn't expect to I didn't expect for race to be a thing that I had to worry about while watching this film, because I went into the film not knowing anything about it. I knew it was about tap dancing and that was it. Um And so, like, the parts in the film where Jared's character is having to deal with like racism, whether it's from his white fellow people in the army, or from the way that the um, North Korean soldiers are referencing him, it was something that made me feel a way. Mainly just because I understand characters. I understand Jared, or I felt like I understood him and empathized with him, you know, being in somewhere where there's someone who doesn't like you for whatever reason from all sides, and having to find some semblance of peace or camaraderie, or just trying to survive in a place where you're not liked for whatever reason. The way I'm describing it, probably like the film isn't all like the film did a there was a balance, in my opinion, between like the really hard parts and the like more soft, goofy um moments, because partly the film is like a war film and it's very gruesome and, you know, serious, but there are parts that aren't, that are just, you know, like musical and things like that. And I think that on one end it can make it seem like on one end it can make it seem like maybe it's too much going on, but I feel like because of how bad And I mean like hard emotionally to watch. The more gruesome, serious moments were, I feel like the more soft, light-hearted musical moments or comedy moments were needed. And I feel like these moments also, um, I feel like they also helped you just appreciate, or like they made the hard moments harder, like more emotional, because you're just like, oh well, they were just doing this and now there's so much chaos and there's so much sadness. um and I just feel like, I don't know, I feel like that is a good representation of things. Granted, I mean, I'm a writer, I've never been in war, I'm not a soldier, I don't, that's not my thing. Also, the characters were also really, really well done. um I really liked the relationship that we see between Kang Soo's character and his brother. I think part of what made me so emotional was their relationship and how things were for them as a result of the war, and what his brother had to do and what he had to do and what they both did. Um, I'm a family person. I have siblings, multiple siblings, and I have a younger brother. So I understand wanting to do any and everything to protect your family. And so the ending was very, very hard to watch, because on one end I know that you want to do everything to protect your siblings, but as the older sibling, it's hard to watch. Spoiler, I'm just going to spoil. It's hard to watch your younger sibling die. You know, you cuz you want to protect them. You want to do everything to protect them, whatever the cost, whatever it is. And I get it, but yeah, that was hard. Um I think the hardest part for me, one of the hardest things about the film, I will say, is how, and I don't know if this is how like most non-Americans see black Americans, but what was hard for me was seeing all the stuff that Jared's character went through from the white people, from his fellow white soldiers, um, from the white soldiers that were also in his camp. Um, and then having like the Korean people in the film, I guess, just view Jared's character as Jackson, that's his character's name, view Jackson as like just a straight up American. I don't know. That bothered me a bit. Nothing wrong with the film, because I mean, I feel like that's maybe a thing that I feel like maybe non-Americans, like that's how they view American, like America as Americans in general, like not necessarily like a race thing, but just like, if you're from America, you're American. um and it was just hard because you know I feel like with everything that black people had to go through, we don't really have an authentic American experience. Like we're not American in the same way that white Americans are, quote unquote, American. Um, so yeah, so that was hard. Um, that was hard to watch, but the film was really good. The film was amazing, and it is probably in my like top 5 favorite films like of all time. Um, it was really, really well done. Um, yeah.